A word from our sponsors. Whether or not Google ever decides to deprecate cookies, they continue to loom over us, putting future revenue growth in doubt. LiveIntent's Hero, Helping Identity Reveal Opportunity, offers a solution by transforming non-addressable audiences into addressable inventory using first-party data. Hero is scalable, interoperable, and integrated with major industry players, providing a robust framework for navigating the post-cookie era. See how Hero can help you quickly unlock your inventory at liveintent/hero. That's liveintent/HIRO. Welcome to the AdTechGod Pod, your window into the world of advertising technology and the people behind it. I'm your host, AdTechGod. Welcome to another episode of the AdTechGod Pod. On today's episode, we have a special guest, Adam Heimlich, CEO and co-founder of Chalice Custom Algorithms. Adam's built an impressive career for his deep expertise in digital advertising and algorithmic solutions, but today's episode is a bit different. With Google's antitrust trial dominating the headlines for months, the day has finally come, and we're here to make sense of it all. Adam has been closely following the case and has generously offered to join me today to help unpack the complexities and provide his insights. It's worthwhile mentioning that Adam is also a sponsor of various marketecture media products, but we've invited him here today because of his deep knowledge and understanding of this pivotal moment in our industry. Adam, welcome to the AdTechGod Pod.
Thank you, God. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Adam. I see all your social media posts. You're very outspoken about the topic, and I think something came to mind last week when we were chatting. Not all of us understand it that well. We don't understand how this impacts our industry. We don't know the history behind it. And so I'm happy that you're here to help explain that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to understand is this is a great moment. We've just been living with a lot of fear and mistrust in our industry. And you could point your finger at various directions where it's coming from. But the fact of the matter is that the ad tech industry has been dominated by one company. And they can be vindictive, and people have been afraid to talk about it. And now it's coming out under oath in a court of law. And win or lose, we're going to get past this period that I think has lasted the last 10 years, where Google's dominance has sort of cast a shadow over the industry that not everyone has been able to see, because some people just grew up in the industry under it and they don't know what it was like before. So it's really going to be a new dawn. And I welcome everybody becoming a little more conscious of what's been happening in our market. My experience of working on the antitrust investigation, it was like if you were fighting in a battle like in Roman times before technology, and suddenly you were plucked out of the battle and into a hot air balloon above it, and you could see the whole thing laid out and how it all worked and who was winning and the supply lines and why. And everyone has a chance now to have an experience like that just by paying attention to this trial that's starting today. And I think it will seep into everyone's consciousness, whether they pay attention to the trial or not, and it'll be good.
You mentioned something like a lot of us don't know what it was like. I don't know what it was like. I have no idea what it means to have a less monopolistic Google in the market. I'm just used to it. It is what it is. Google is a major player in the market. They really capture a lot of the budget. They dominate search. They dominate, video and display. It's just always been that way. So to me, it's always been Google is number one.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you a few things. There were a lot more startups and there were a lot more solutions. And it was very exciting. As problems came up, there were companies built to solve them and offering solutions. And I was a big agency buyer for many years, and I always felt like I was going shopping in an amazing marketplace for ad tech solutions, and that the programmatic marketplace was growing up and growing careers, and that the best solutions were getting rewarded and companies were growing. And it didn't last very long, but it was a very exciting time. Just going to anyone who went to the Ad Exchanger conferences in the early years in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, each one bigger, each one more exciting, each one having more startups and companies merging and being acquired. It was a rare experience of being in a thriving marketplace. And I think we might see that again.
So I want to take it from the top, Adam. Can you give us a rundown of the Google antitrust case and how that might potentially shake up the ad industry? And we'll start there. And then I have a few more questions for you that I'd love to hear your input on.
Yeah, I'll try to simplify this, and I apologize for any experts for the simplification. But American antitrust law is different than other countries' antitrust laws in that monopoly isn't illegal. You're allowed to have an advantage and win. But the law, where they drew the line, was really for Standard Oil. Back in 1890, and Standard Oil was broken up in, I think, 1910 or 11. Standard Oil had the most oil, right? And the ruling of the Sherman Antitrust Act is that it's okay to have the most oil and to win the oil market. But what's not okay that Standard Oil did was to use that advantage in oil to take over refineries and the railroads and use contracts to get special rates on moving their oil and distributing around the country to gas stations so that nobody else could compete in kerosene or gas or any oil-based product. And Standard Oil was saying, we're very innovative. They were coming up with new uses for oil all the time. We're very efficient. We're delivering oil so cheaply. But the argument was, you're taking a natural advantage in oil and taking over all these other markets, and it's preventing competition. And in preventing that competition, we're not seeing innovations that we should be seeing, right? It's not natural to extend your monopoly through secret contracts and what's called vertical integration, where you have the oil, the refinery, and the railroads all locked up. All right. So Google is in trouble because they have this natural monopoly in search, right? The best search company and the best search ads. They've had two trials, one about using contracts to extend their monopoly in search through exclusive contracts like with Apple to be exclusive on the iPhone, just paying $20 billion a year. That's a lot like Standard Oil locking up the railroad, saying we're going to distribute search through contracts and no one else is going to be able to get in. And now the AdTech case, which is not as clear because it's not through secret contracts. It's really through acquisitions that Google was able to move their search advantage into display. So especially the DoubleClick acquisition, but also AdMeld, Urchin, became Google Analytics, and a few others. Google achieved the same kind of vertical integration where their advantage in data has become an advantage in the distribution of data refined products, which to me are algorithms, right? It's no one else can create a better advertising algorithm because Google has locked up the data, intent data from search and intent data from all over the web, and the distribution in all these ad tech nodes like exchanges and DSPs, so that nobody can get in there and really compete.
How is this any different than prior, I guess, tech company antitrust cases like the one with Microsoft? How does it differ?
Yeah, I think at the level, I'm trying to give you the 20,000 foot view, and it's the same thing again as with Standard Oil, that Microsoft had what you might call a natural monopoly, right? They had the best operating system, or they came to dominate operating systems. And then they tried to extend that dominance into applications. So they basically said, you can't have a web application, and it was mostly about browsers and JavaScript, Java. They said those can't function unless you pay homage to Windows, right? We're going to have secret APIs into Windows, and we're going to control what web applications grow up and what don't, and we're going to favor our own web applications, right? The reason Microsoft lost that case was that DOJ made a compelling argument that there should be a competitive market in web applications. And looking back, that's really clear, right? Google came out of that market after Microsoft Antitrust, and Amazon came out of that market when it was more competitive. And before that, Google had the power to shut them down. So what I'm saying, if this is a good moment, is that even if DOJ loses this case, there's now a crack in the door where people will see that there should be competition in advertising technology. And where there's a will, hopefully with some help from DOJ, there'll be a way.
So would you compare, I guess, the Standard Oil acquisition of railroad tracks and refineries? Would you compare that a lot to how Google has control over the overall tech stack, and that gives them the market dominance that they need? Is that what you see that as really the similarities between the two?
Yeah, it's very real to me working at Chalice Custom Algorithms, where we're trying to build better optimization technology, right? Better optimization algorithms. if the customer is optimizing to Google signal, right, to Google ad server conversions, then we want that data so we can build better optimization to it. And Google won't let us have that data. They won't let anyone have that data. And we would say it's the advertiser's data, right? If you're Nike and you're driving shoe conversions, which impressions got attributed credit for driving conversions and how much credit did they get? That should be your data. Google's view is you can have that. You pay for these products, but you can have that data. And as a result of that, there's very little competition in algorithms that are optimizing to the most important signal, which is Google's ad server signal. So it's very real to me. Like, this isn't fair. This is just like oil. Just because Google has the data, I can't compete head to head with them in algorithms. Like, why is Google afraid of my little company that they can't give me some oil to try to refine?
Because they'll keep you small. If you don't have the data, I mean, then how do you continue to expand? Eventually, you tap out of the data that you really need to.
That's what I want people to understand: is Google's not the best algorithm company, right? We're going to see that.
Right. It's pretty incredible now that you've really broken it down to just like the simplest terms, how obvious it is to me. Because I've been following this. I'm not an expert in this. I obviously read on it quite a bit, and I'm constantly curious to learn more about it. So this has been really insightful. How do you think, Adam, this affects? You talk about the algorithm, you talk about advertiser data. How does this impact, publishers? How does this impact, I guess, consumers across the entire kind of digital advertising space?
In a word, clickbait. Publisher monetization has been dominated by Google measurement. Google measurement is really flat. It values clicks. It values last touch conversions. It ignores publisher quality. It ignores refresh rates and ad to content ratio, which are really important signals of publisher quality. It doesn't look at those at all. So if you're a publisher, you can't get your CPM up by having a higher quality site, right? Google's algorithm won't recognize that. All you can do is sell more ads, right? All ads are cheap. The only way to make more money is sell more ads. That's where clickbait comes from. And that's why all publications tend toward clickbait. The only way to get more money is to have more ads on the page, to have the page refresh more, and to have more new visitors on every page. So that's why all internet publishing content starts to trend toward, everyone knows what clickbait ads and clickbait articles are, listicles and games, and it's garbage, right? So everyone is aware of this garbage and what's the problem, but it's very few people have been able to trace it back to how the web is monetized and the lack of choice.
Yeah, they're incentivized.
Yeah, and for advertisers, that lack of choice is our lack of choice. If you want to advertise only on quality sites, you could go to Chalice. That's new, but mostly you turn away from algorithms and buy guarantees, which is like not the best solution, right? You have to turn away from technology just to buy quality. It's pathetic.
How is this different than various, I guess, regulations in the EU? I mean, you explained Microsoft really well. Obviously, Standard Oil and where it all kind of started with antitrust and monopolies, but how is it different than, I guess, cases that are happening in the EU?
I'm not expert in that, so don't want to say too much. I guess what I can say is like this case is going to be a roadmap for other cases, not just in the EU, but probably also in Australia, Asia, Canada, and there's different laws there, and they might have different outcomes. That's about all I could say. Like in America has some of the loosest monopoly regulations. Like I say, it's not illegal to have a monopoly, just to abuse monopoly power. In Europe, it's actually illegal to have a monopoly, and regulators see their role as balancing the market. So it should be different there. And then Australia and Asia may be a little closer to the US model. But I think what's important for people to understand is this is only the beginning. Like when DOJ makes cases like this, it's going to be a roadmap for cases like it in other jurisdictions, and those are already underway.
What do you think is the most likely outcome? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Google's going to get broken up, and I think they'll appeal. That's really funny. My Google AI Gemini assistant just came on when I said Google's going to get broken up because I guess it heard the word Google.
They're listening.
I really shouldn't use an Android phone. Okay, but I think they will be broken up. It's a question of how much and what happened in the Microsoft appeal. It's really hard to predict. Is one judge said they got broken up, and then they won on appeal, and then they settled and essentially agreed. They made the same agreement they would have made if they lost, just to stop using Windows to block web applications. So DOJ got the outcome they wanted without actually winning the case, except when they did win the case before it was overturned. So, it's in this realm where no one can predict. But what I do know is that DOJ is bringing a mountain of evidence as we talk. Andrew Casale is on the stand. I'm sure he's kicking serious ass. Google's defense looks really weak and PR based, and like their lawyers don't really know what they're walking into. So I don't think it's going to go well for Google. But when things enter the realm of politics, it's hard to predict. Google has a lot of friends in high places, and you can never count out that they get a favor done.
So I've heard multiple views of what breaking up Google means, but what does it mean for you when you say, maybe they'll break up Google, maybe they'll split off different products? What do you think that means, and what products would they split off? In your opinion, obviously you don't know exactly what.
Yeah, well, it's in the complaint. If you read the DOJ complaint, they ask for the breakup of the sell-side tech. It's AdX and GAM, the publisher ad server. So that's the technology that runs auctions. And I think that's a fair, at least starting point or thing to ask for, right? Google shouldn't be running auctions. They're the biggest buyer and the biggest seller. So they really shouldn't be in the middle. And the middle is the real precedent set by US versus Microsoft, right? That they said, Microsoft, you can't use your operating system to sit in the middle of the application market and pick winners and losers. So by targeting the middle, I think DOJ is making a really strong case and saying, if you get Google out of auctions, then their buy-side tech, their DSPs and YouTube and stuff will become competitive. They won't have the ability to manipulate auctions in the middle of the market. If you wanted to really take Standard Oil as the precedent more than Microsoft, it would mean separating Google's data from its products. That would be a bigger breakup. And I think in the context of Google also losing the search case, it becomes more possible where you say Google is really a data broker, right? Search is a free application that exists so Google can collect data. Maps is an application that allows Google to collect data. The ad server's collection is a data collection mechanism. And all those should be like a data collection company. And they should have to bring that data to market and sell it to other potential buyers, right? Just like Standard Oil had to take oil fairly to railroads. So that's a more extensive breakup. It's sort of a Hail Mary pass if DOJ goes for it. But people should get their heads around that possibility. It is possible. And you should think of Google as a data broker. They're a vertically integrated company that's saying, collecting data and using that data for ad tech are the same thing. That's just like Standard Oil saying pumping oil and distributing oil are the same thing, right? DOJ said, no, they're not. They're just two different markets, and you have to be two different companies.
Right. How do you think this is going to reshape our industry? Because, I had mentioned before, I don't know a world without Google. I don't know a world without Google dominance. We've all worked with Google in some capacity, whether we're buying or selling or meeting with them. How do you think it'll change? How do you think it'll change the industry for the better? And what should we keep an eye on in terms of innovation and changes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know at the detail level, but what I hope and what I came on your show to say is this is a chance to kind of shake off a shadow that's been on us in the industry. Like I was already grown up when the Cambridge Analytica scandal broke, which is how everyone's parents found out about what we do. Right? It was a very grim moment that everyone found out about using IDs and audience targeting through this awful scandal that was caused by Facebook's carelessness. And I just don't think the industry ever recovered. Just like if you think of it as a person that's traumatized and never fully recovered, I think people felt pretty good about working in ad tech and all the economic opportunity that we were bringing to advertisers and publishers and to ourselves, right, in this thriving market. But then it became our jobs sort of became shameful. Like we all had an albatross around our neck because it was associated with scandal. And I just want to take this moment to say, ad tech is really good for markets, good for America. Like if it's more efficient to bring products to market, it lifts innovation in all markets. It can potentially help the American economy. And we should feel good about careers in ad tech, especially if you love it like I do, of trying to move up the ladder in your agency or being a founder or whatever you choose to do. Like this could be a more noble profession. And one of the reasons, maybe not the reason, but one of the reasons that even people who love ad tech, and my friend Gareth has a blog called Gareth Hates Ad Tech because he's so frustrated sometimes. Some of that frustration comes from Google's dominance and just indirect effect of being stuck in antiquated measurement and dishonest pitches and false claims that always lead back to the same old thing.
With Google broken up, whether they are found guilty or not guilty, what do you think the impact will be on us, the regular employees, the people working in ad tech? How would this benefit us in terms of, innovation and career growth and opportunity?
Yeah, just more choices. Yeah, I think just more choices and openness and innovation. I think it'll be good for the people at Google too. I'll finish saying that. Like everyone has friends at Google, and everyone at Google is is really nice and talented. And I don't want anyone to think that because the company is too powerful, that those people are evil. But there is sort of a friction that they're not living in the same market as us, right? That they don't have the same pressures and measures of success as us. And I think it will be a better industry when everyone is sort of on the same level. Like, something salespeople do that I've noticed is they maintain relationships across jobs, right? So if you're working for someone in sales and your boss tells you to screw someone over, most salespeople won't do it because you recognize you're going to have another job at some point. And the relationship is more important than this boss who's telling you to screw them, right? Have you experienced that?
I mean, look, I have friends at Google that I talk to regularly, and I think Terry Kawaja said it once. He said, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. They're just working and they're doing what they can. It's out of their control. They're just like us. Like, they can't just pack up and leave tomorrow.
Yeah. So I think things really feeling that everyone on the same level and everyone treating each other as if, this person might be on the other side of the table next time you see them, right? They might be your boss. Like things just being more level like that in a lot of ways will make for a better industry. The understanding that you're carrying one card when you're on one job, and when you're carrying another card, you're still going to be judged for who you are and how you treated people. And that's how the industry should be.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It was great. Thanks for all your questions.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the AdTechGod Pod, a podcast for the people, about the people that make ad tech great. Stay connected with me for more insights, trends, and interviews in the realm of ad tech. Don't miss out on our latest updates, so follow me on X, Instagram, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't forget, ATG Slack community has insights, networking opportunities, and jobs. Keep the conversation going and stay at the forefront of ad tech innovation.